Welcome to my Witcher Netflix Season 1 Episode 1 review. Well, today is the day, guys, and I've just watched the first ever episode of the Witcher Netflix adaptation. Obviously, from my channel name alone, you can tell I am a fan of The Witcher, but for any new viewers, I just want to tell you that I am both a fan of the games and the books. So, whilst watching this episode, and whilst I watch this show, I will be viewing it and reviewing it as best as I can from a book point of view. My plan, at least as of making this video, is to watch each episode, record down my thoughts after each, and then make a short review of each episode. The videos I'm going to release today aren't going to be going very in-depth, it's more of an overall review of the episode, not an in-depth review. So, this video is the first of those reviews, and I'll be making them and releasing them throughout today. I'll be doing proper breakdowns for each episode, and an overall review for the entire series in the future, so be sure to subscribe to stay tuned for that. I just wanted to make these short review videos as a way for people to hear my thoughts and opinions as quickly as possible. So, what do I think of The Witcher Netflix Episode 1? To begin, I want to say it was pretty cool to see so many moments I remember from the books on screen. I'm not going to go over every single thing that happened in the episode, but I think the most interesting thing to see, at least for me, was Geralt's fight scene against Renfri's men, and then ultimately Renfri. Personally, I think this fight scene was done pretty well, and it certainly showcased just how powerful a Witcher can be. I was a little bit confused as to why for most of the fight, it seemed like he was dual-wielding swords, but as we know, witches are trained in most forms of weaponry, so dual-wielding doesn't seem too far-fetched. I thought Henry Cavill was okay as Geralt. I don't want to give too strong of an opinion on him yet, as obviously it's only been one episode, but so far he's been okay, I suppose. I'm not a big fan of his armor. It looks a bit cheap and kind of like plastic at points, but this is just a minor thing. I quite like Calanthe, as she definitely had that sort of power and authority about her that we know she had from the books. She did do a few things that I found confusing, like telling Ciri to seek out Geralt, because in the books she was very much against Geralt claiming her as his surprise child. Look guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, when you make a video that might potentially be seen by hundreds of people, it's kind of hard to say exactly what you think, or even know what you think, and not too overly or underly, I guess, critical, but I know you guys just want me to be honest, and I want to preface it what I'm gonna get into now by saying that if your opinions are very different to mine, I don't judge you, and I hope you don't judge me either. And just because we think differently doesn't mean we can't respect each other, and I just want you guys to take that into consideration when you go and comment down below. So, I've discussed the things I can remember liking, now to move on to some of the issues I had with the episode. To begin, I feel like the dialogue felt quite wooden whilst I was watching this episode. It felt almost as if I was watching some sort of student play, and that's no comment on the acting, I just mean the dialogue on the whole felt a bit weird at points, sort of forced and unnatural. I didn't really like most of the clothing, although I'm not sure if that's because it looked bad, or just because of the set pieces that the clothing was being contrasted with looked a little bit fake, and I think that's because of CGI and maybe the materials they used. I'm not entirely sure, but it sort of has this quite sort of fake look to a lot of it. It doesn't really look like they're actually in most of the places they are, if that makes sense. The main battle between Nilfgaard and Sintra looked like a scene from The Phantom Menace, so I'm not too sure about that. The way in which the story is being told is also a bit strange to me, but I don't want to be too critical of it because obviously I've only seen one episode, and it's simply unfair for me to judge it in that regard, as it could pan out. I think, unless they've massively changed the books, that they are telling two stories set very far apart. Because in the books, to give you an idea, I believe Ciri wasn't even born when the Butcher of Blaviken's story took place. There are also a lot of changes to the lore already, and I mean a lot. I'll get into them in a proper breakdown video, but the first would be that Calanthe's husband, Iced Twirsek, does not sound Skelligan, and I know that the books are different to the games, so the accents might be a bit different. Another would be the changes to the Butcher of Blaviken's story, with characters being added, and there are many more changes to just the stories in general, but this is just a short review, and I'll get into all of that in a more in-depth breakdown in the future. I mean, in the books, the actual battle and events that occurred in Sintra that we see in the episode do not actually take place in the books. They are mentioned and discussed later on, but we don't ever see it play out in full. At least I'm pretty sure of that. For example, we don't get a chapter with Ciri talking to Calanthe as the Nilfgaardians are invading Sintra, and we don't actually get to read when Calanthe throws herself out of a window. These events are just recounted at a later date. There's plenty more to say on this episode, but as I said guys, this is just a short review, and I will will be doing more in-depth reviews at a later date. This video is just my immediate reaction and thoughts on episode 1. So, to conclude, I'd say it's not brilliant. It's not the worst thing I've ever watched by any means, and to be honest, it's better than I thought it would be, but do keep in mind that I thought it would be completely unwatchable, at least from my point of view as a longtime fan of the books and games. So far, nothing story-destroying or lore-destroying has happened. It's been fun to see some events play out that I've read, but overall, it's not great in my opinion. However, I will now go and watch episode 2 and see if my opinion improves, or gets worse. So be sure to stay tuned for that. I know that some people are going to want me to be incredibly critical, and I know some people will want me to be praising it and incredibly happy with it, but the truth is, guys, it's too early for me to lean too strongly into either category. At the moment, all I can say is what I've said, and we'll see where the show goes. Anyway, as I said, I'm gonna go and watch episode 2 and be back with you all later. Be sure to like the video to support me, and subscribe if you're new and want to see more Witcher videos. Of course, be sure to share your opinions down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you all think, whether you loved it, hated it, feel the same as me. I just want to know what you all think, as genuinely it is just great to talk about this stuff and just see what's happening with the Witcher fandom. So anyway guys, have a happy binge, or I guess a happy watch.